Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com for this edition of Inside the Zone alongside Justin Kenny of the News Sentinel. I'm Glenn Marini, and it is week 7 of the high school football season. We are literally 2/3 of the way through the regular season.
We are, and we have a sectional draw on Sunday.
So we are thinking
excited.
This is a perfect time to start talking about the conference races because we are down to the nitty-gritty. We're going to go through the conference races in the 4 biggest conferences here in Northeast Indiana. It starts with the SAC. Right now, you got Snyder atop at 6-0, Carroll right behind at 5-1, Dwenger 4-2, Concordia 4-2. So when you take a look at what this conference is going to boil down to, what is it for you? Because, I mean, Snyder's clearly the front runner.
Oh, well, it boils down to the fact that if Snyder all of a sudden just stops being Snyder and loses 2 of the last 3 games, because they actually have a 2-game lead in the conference because they've beaten Carroll. So Carroll's sitting there with 1 loss, but actually it is a 2-game lead. So technically Snyder can clinch it this week with a win on Friday. They can clinch the SAC championship.
When you take a look at the way things have shaken out thus far, I think it's a surprise to some people that Carroll is the one team that has mathematically a better chance to perhaps knock off Snyder in terms of winning the sectional championship. Obviously, they need a lot of help.
Right.
But Carroll, you know, as the lone number 2 team at this point in the season, I think considering the players that they graduated, the uncertainty coming into the season at the quarterback position, and just some question marks in general on the defensive side of the football in terms of replacing playmakers, I think you have to be really pleased if you're Doug Dinan that, you know, you're alone at second place at this point.
Yeah, you know, you still got a shot. You know, so I guess if Snyder loses 2 out of 3, maybe you have a chance to win it. But especially after that Snyder-Carroll game where Snyder really manhandled them, we were like, you know, where's Carroll? But I think we said it at the time, they could still be the second-best team in the conference. I think that's where we sit right now. Of course, big game against Homestead coming up on Friday. But it's been very interesting because Coach Doug Dinan has said at the beginning of the season, I don't want to have a 2-quarterback system. I want somebody to emerge. Here they are, 2/3 of the way through the regular season, and the 2-quarterback system has worked reasonably well for them. And
when you look at Concordia, you're talking about a team that finally pulled out a big one. They've had so many close calls, it seems like, over the years. Even this season, the game against Lures, you can really point to that. But to pull one out at the end against a team like Bishop Dwenger, what did you think that meant for that program going forward? Because I think people had a lot of question marks about what they had coming into this season.
Yeah, I think it's huge in the hallways and kids talking and getting kids interested in the program. You know, Concordia just struggles to get kids out. If they can get 50 or 60 out, it's tremendous for them. It's great to be able to say we beat Bishop Lures, we beat Bishop Dwenger, because you go 3-6 in the regular season, and then you have a success in the playoffs, but a lot of people see you only won 3 games in the regular season. You couldn't compete against some of these teams. To be able to compete and win against some big dogs in the conference really helps morale, helps confidence, helps kids get interested in the program and stay interested. And that's exactly what you need everywhere. But it helps at Concordia when you are constantly struggling to compete against the big dogs. Every available, able-bodied, athletic boy in that school needs to be playing football. To Tim Manigal, what Tim Manigal would say, wins helps get those kids out there.
Yeah, and I kind of misspoke there. I mentioned it was a close loss to Lures. They actually beat Lures.
Yeah,
close loss to Homestead when
yes.
the Morrison field goal kind of slid right off the front end of the crossbar there. Are you surprised at any that Snyder's at the top? And if you are, I mean, are you concerned because their execution, they were so sharp right out of the gate. I mean, they look like world beaters right out of the gate, and they've played a lot closer games where they haven't been the Snyder of old, where maybe they march the football down and they have to settle for a field goal or a penalty hurts them, a drop pass, something of that nature.
I think it's natural when you win a state championship and you come out, despite losing everything they did, and come out and dominate in such the fashion that they did the first part of the season, to get a little complacent, that think, you know, we're just going to roll again as Snyder. And I think the last couple weeks they've gotten a little bit of wake-up calls in some games, and I think how they move forward from that, how they refocus, and quite frankly their desire. Are they committed to being the best team they possibly can once the playoffs start? I mean, that's what you have to be, and Snyder last year was that. They were dedicated and determined to get to the state championship game. Is this team the same makeup? Does it have the same thinking and approach to the last part of the season into the playoffs? I don't know if we know that yet. I don't know if Snyder knows that yet, but I think we find that out in the last couple weeks of the season when they're going to be challenged. You know, Dwenger, despite the losses, will challenge them. Lures will challenge them, and then going into the postseason, how they approach a very winnable northern half of the state. But there are capable teams that will knock them off if they're not ready to play.
Well, I was going to say, you take a look at the back end of their schedule. After playing some teams that they should beat handily, you take a look at the end with Dwenger and end with Lures, like you said. That's the best way, I think, if you're Snyder, to prepare for the postseason, is play some foes that have been tough in the past, that have some tradition, and get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, and obviously that Dwenger game not as marquee as we thought it would be even a couple weeks ago, but Dwenger's still a very solid team and is fully capable of going deep in 4A. Bishop Lures, despite their issues, especially defensively, are perfectly capable of putting a scare into Snyder if they're not ready to play.